Long before written histories were fixed in ink, people told stories about the boundary between heaven and earth. They spoke quietly about beings of light who moved between worlds, watching, guiding, and bearing witness. In many ancient traditions, the divine did not act alone. The sacred was imagined as a vast order, layered with messengers, guardians, and witnesses who carried meaning rather than force. Within this worldview, the figure of Jesus appears not as an isolated individual, but as part of a much larger cosmic story. Ancient texts describe him as both human and sacred, walking through villages, speaking to crowds, and carrying a mission that stretched far beyond his lifetime. Some scholars believe that in early spiritual interpretations, Jesus was accompanied by heavenly presences from the moment of his birth. These were not figures of domination, but symbols of balance, memory, and divine order. In many ancient traditions, the concept of two angels assigned to walk beside him was a recurring idea. They were not meant to command him, but to mirror his journey, reflect his purpose, and stand as witnesses to his path. In symbolic language, the number 2 often represents harmony, light and shadow, compassion and justice, spirit and flesh. According to ancient narratives, one angel was associated with mercy. This presence was imagined as gentle, patient, and deeply compassionate. It represented the divine quality of understanding human suffering without judgment. The other angel, some traditions suggest, was linked to truth. This presence was described as steady, observant, and unwavering. It symbolized clarity, order, and the moral structure that holds the universe together. Together, these two beings formed a kind of sacred companionship rather than supervision. They were said to walk beside Jesus in moments of solitude, prayer, and trial. Historical interpretations suggest that during Jesus' time in the wilderness, these angelic figures did not speak in thunder or command. Instead, they were imagined as silent presences, reminding him of his purpose through quiet awareness rather than force. Ancient storytellers described them as light, moving softly through the desert air, barely visible, yet profoundly felt. Some scholars believe this imagery reflected how early communities understood spiritual guidance. The divine did not coerce, it accompanied. In villages and along dusty roads, people imagined that these two angels continued to walk with him as he met the sick, the poor, and the forgotten. One presence embodied empathy, the other embodied integrity. Together, they formed a balance that allowed Jesus to remain deeply human while still connected to the sacred. Philosophers of the ancient world often compared this idea to a moral compass inside the soul. Mercy without truth could become sentimentality. Truth without mercy could become cold. By imagining two angels, storytellers were expressing a deeper spiritual principle, that wisdom lives in balance. As Jesus spoke to crowds about forgiveness, justice, and inner transformation, historical records suggest that these heavenly companions were believed to be present in a symbolic sense, reminding listeners that divine purpose moves gently rather than violently. During moments of deep struggle, ancient traditions describe the two angels standing at a distance, not interfering, but offering silent presence. This reflected a belief that spiritual growth must emerge from personal choice, not external command. Some interpretations suggest that when Jesus faced uncertainty, the angels represented his inner clarity and moral grounding rather than external authority. Later spiritual writings expand on this idea. They portray the two angels as cosmic witnesses rather than controllers. They observed, remembered, and carried the meaning of his life into the heavens. In this way, their role was less about directing events and more about preserving their significance across time. Across centuries, different cultures interpreted this story in their own ways. In some traditions, the two angels were linked to light and wisdom. In others, they were seen as guardians of destiny and compassion. Yet a common thread remains. The angels were never described as overpowering. They were companions, not masters. This tells us something important about ancient spirituality. Divinity was not imagined as harsh or coercive, but as deeply relational. When later theologians reflected on Jesus' life, they often used the image of the two angels to explore human freedom. If even someone as sacred as Jesus walked with heavenly companions rather than being directed by them, then perhaps the divine respects choice above all else. Historical interpretations suggest that this idea shaped early moral thinking. People were encouraged to seek wisdom, but never surrender their agency. As the centuries passed, the imagery of the two angels became more symbolic than literal. Artists painted them hovering in soft clouds. Poets described them as invisible flames beside the heart. Yet beneath the imagery lay a deeper question. How does the sacred interact with the human world? Does it command, or does it accompany? Some scholars believe the story of the two angels reflects a universal human experience. We all walk with inner voices, one urging kindness, the other urging honesty. In this sense, Jesus becomes not only a religious figure, but a mirror of the human journey itself. Even at the end of his life, ancient narratives imply that the two angels remained present in spirit. They did not prevent suffering, but they gave it meaning. They transformed pain into lesson, despair into reflection, and loss into remembrance. Historical interpretations suggest that after his passing, these angelic figures were imagined returning to the heavens carrying the story of his life, like a sacred record, not as a tale of domination, but as a testament to compassion, courage, and moral clarity. Today, when we look back at these ancient ideas, we are not simply studying religion, we are examining how early humans understood power, love, and responsibility. The image of two angels beside Jesus invites us to reflect on balance in our own lives. When do we act with mercy? When do we act with truth? And how do we hold both together? Some scholars remind us that whether one believes in angels or not, the symbolism remains meaningful. It speaks to the human need for guidance that does not erase freedom, for support that does not remove responsibility. In the quiet spaces between belief and history, the story lingers. Two luminous presences walking beside a man who changed the world not through force, but through compassion. Perhaps that is the deepest lesson hidden in the tale. The sacred does not rule from above. It walks beside us, gently illuminating the path. And so the ancient story remains open, unfinished, and quietly powerful. Not a conclusion, not a command. Just an invitation to reflect on how we move through the world and who walks beside us as we do.